Welcome to Mercedes Second Chance Podcast, where we share real life stories about addiction, getting clean, and being given a second chance. Well, hello. I'm Mercedes, and this is Mercedes Second Chance Podcast. And today I have the honor of sitting with Tony V, a good friend of mine. Tony, will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Tony V. I'm in recovery, just celebrated 10 years and just do a lot of cool stuff in the community. You know, I got afforded a lot of opportunities with my second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances that I got, you know. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I call it the second chance because it's like the one you took. You know what I mean?
No, I get it,
yeah, because I've gotten probably a whole bunch. I don't know. But it's a metaphor. No, so when I met you, see, because I seen you before you seen me. It was at the meeting by the waterfront, and you were chairing a meeting. You might have just been in the house, but your employees were there, and they talked about how great you were. Yeah, no, you chaired them. You celebrated a meeting over
like
there.
8 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember.
And
that,
I was just coming out. I had a treatment. I had a year, and I remember they talked about like working for you and how you were like a mentor, and you know, you just treated them with a lot of respect and stuff like that. And I thought, wow, you know, like it said a lot, and everyone was there. Everyone there was so supportive of you. And I was like, I want to get to know that guy. And things happened to where I was able to kind of get around you more and see what you do. And I'm just like really blown away. And I appreciate you for the opportunities you give me, you know, in return. So looking at you, I couldn't tell that you're an addict, right?
Yeah.
But you've got a story.
I do.
So,
yeah,
let's hear it. How did it start?
Well, my life, where did I start at? Oh,
Yeah.
man. So I'm 37 now. I'm getting older, wiser, I guess, smarter.
There you go.
But yeah, my life started in Pocatello, Idaho. You know, middle of Idaho. My family is all, you know, pretty poor. A lot of addiction, a lot of poverty, a lot of crime, and my mom, you know, who's dead now. She died in a fentanyl accident when I was 21, but she got pregnant when she was 15 by my father, who was young, and they were into drugs and partying and stuff. And anyway, so that's where it started. And then, you know, my dad, he went and had 3 kids with my mom's sister.
Oh. Oh no!
Yeah. My
so you
dad,
got like
rolling
brother
stones,
cousins.
sister, brother, cousins, aunt Setter, your stepmom, all that stuff.
Yeah, my mom and my aunt are like that.
Yeah,
their dads are brothers.
So you know, that I mean, that's where, you know, Tony was born, and you know, and it's interesting because I was born, you know, dead. So I was born dead.
What do you mean?
Like I was just like not breathing. I don't know, umbilical cord around my neck, or you know, and the doctor who delivered me was drunk or something. My mom said, I don't remember exactly, but
the doctor was drunk.
Yeah, I think
she wasn't drunk.
No,
the doctor was drunk. Okay.
No, so you know, so I don't know what that's about, but you know, they were able to resuscitate me and bring me back to life, and then, and then my mom met some dude, my stepfather, and then she bounced from Idaho because, you know, like her and her sister were beefing over my dad. Okay. And so like people were like beating my mom up and stuff, and like when she was pregnant, trying to like take me out at an early age or whatever. And so my mom dipped out of Idaho, you know, and left and went down to Camas, Washington, to Vancouver, and then to Camas. And so that's where I grew up with my mom, my stepfather, and then later on my half-sister. So we were like kind of poor, not super poor, but poor enough because like my stepdad was going to work, and then he had a drinking problem. So we lived like in a duplex in Camas, Washington, which is a really affluent town.
Okay.
Camas is really affluent over in Washington. It's one of the most affluent towns in Washington State. Oh, wow. And so I grew up kind of like poor, but the trippy part was, and then so as I look back at my addiction, I think about like where was I like fractured? Where did I begin to like break away from who I was and who I could be, and stuff, you know, and where was my identity fractured? And one of the things was like being poor already. I felt insecure, but like when I would go to school, the trippy thing was I didn't know my stepdad wasn't my real dad. So it was trippy growing up, right?
Yeah.
And so there was this weird dynamic at the house where my stepsister, I thought she was my real sister, and I was treated differently and stuff. It was just a trip. But my last name, my parents never, like, my stepdad never adopted me, so I had multiple last names legally. So I was going to school, and they would be like, I remember at, like, the beginning of every school year, they'd be like, Vezina, King, T, are you here? And I'd be like, my name's Tony Kingsley. That's what I thought. Tony Kingsley. That was my stepdad's last name. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, okay. And so they'd have to change it, and I couldn't, like, wrap my mind around it. And, like, my stepdad was alcoholic and, you know, and, like, just rough or whatever. And so I went through a lot. But, like, I just couldn't, like, understand my circumstances and why, like, I was treated poorly in my house and stuff. And then my grandma, like, broke me off and told me, like, what, yeah, like, at a young age, like, Santa Claus isn't real. You know, that's why you don't get as many presents as your sister.
That's not your dad.
That's not your dad.
Oh, no.
Your dad's in Idaho. Robert, Rochelle, and Margaret are your cousins and your brothers and sisters, and here's what happened.
That's a cold grandma.
Yeah, my grandma's tight. I got my grandma's back, dude. My grandma's just, like, 5'2", had, like,
I love
7
it. I love
kids.
little grandmas.
Yeah,
Mine's grandma's
dude.
4'11".
You know, my grandma grew up in, you know, it's, you know, in Idaho, lived in a trailer park, make no money, you know, so kids' clothes, make some shoes, like, whatever it took, you know, to take care of her family. She was just, like, rock solid. And she's still bebopping around today. But anyway, so she told me all that, and that really fractured me. Like, if that was like a chapter in my life that I remember, right? Like, after that day, understanding all of that, I took that all on personally. Like, I personalized that, like, there was something inherently wrong with me because of the circumstances of my life. And I was jaded, and I let that maybe, like, dissuade me from doing more positive things. But also, like, I like to tear shit up. Like, I was young, and I like to, like, tear shit up and break the rules. And I was angry. You know, I played sports and stuff. But I was, like, just kind of angry and indifferent. And then I found drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. And alcohol was prevalent in my house already because my stepdad was alcoholic. You know, so, like, drink with him, going hunting and stuff sometimes. But I found more, like, an identity in that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. You know, crime, like, some crime. I wasn't, like, gang banger, hurt people type, fighter type crime, but just, like, misdemeanor crime, using drugs, you know what I mean? Staying out late, trespassing. Yeah, okay. You know, like, breaking shit. You know, I've never been, like, a real violent person or anything. My father is. My father is a violent person. But anyways, so I started using and stuff. And the interesting thing when I think back is, like, people talk about how they use drugs and they, like, have, like, this moment of clarity, you know, where everything's great. Like, I had that sometimes, but I also had really bad experiences using. Right. You know, where people would be like, okay, if I use that much and drink that much, I'm going to, like, be in the hot tub at the party and puke everywhere and make a fool of myself. And so I'm not going to do that again. Right. But you're like, nope. I was just like, okay, well, maybe I was like, I'm not going to do that much. But every time I would use so much, you know what I mean, at a young age. Yeah. You know, and the interesting thing is nobody ever kind of told me about this idea of, like, you potentially have a disease, right? Like, the disease concept didn't come for like a way later. So anyways, you know, when you're involved in committing crimes and stuff, you know, I was in and out of juvenile detention, run away from home, you know, just chilling at trap houses and stuff at a young age. And so I didn't, like, get involved in a lot of positive things at a young age, you know? Yeah. I just mostly was, like, floating around, trying to get high for free, trying to party and find some girls. Like, that was kind of my thing. Yeah. You know, I'd always, like, have my looks, you know, that always got me somewhere. Like, I go weasel something, you know, and stay at people's houses and stuff. And that's what I had, you know. Right. growing up. And so then the problem started happening in my teenage years. And so what I started was I started doing the geographic to grandma's. You know what I mean? I don't want to live here. I'm going to go to grandma's house.
Right.
So I bounced down to grandma, live with grandma in the double wide trailer. But half the other grandkids were getting in trouble and whose parents didn't know how to take care of them. You know, and so I started this back and forth, you know. And I didn't graduate high school. And I remember being really young and people telling me, like, you have potential. You know, like, you're wasting your potential. Like, you have talent and stuff that other people don't have.
Even without you not graduating high school.
All that, just because
knew?
Just like with math and school, like, if I did anything, like, I would do a good job, right? And so people would be like, you have this wasted talent. And I look back, and for a long time, I was so jaded and unwilling to take responsibility for my own life for whatever reason, you know, but I never saw, like, the hands that were out trying to help me. I only looked at the bad things that happened to me.
Right.
And refused to look at the opportunities, the good things, the positive aspects, despite all of the messed up stuff that I went through as a kid. And I went through a lot, you know, a lot of trauma and drama and shit. But there was people who had their hands out. And I remember now, like, looking back, like, after I got into recovery and I looked back, I was like, oh, like, that teacher was really trying to get me, and these other people were trying to reach out to me and help me. That cop was actually trying to help me. You know what I mean? Like looking back, it's like a different perspective. But, you know, anyway, so.
But that diseased mind wants to isolate you and make you think you have no friends, no one's helping you, nobody's looking out for you, you're all alone, you're by yourself, everybody hates you.
Yeah, poor Tony.
Poor Tony,
you know,
right.
Yeah, somebody give me something.
Right.
It's like victim mentality.
If you live what I lived through, you would drink too, you get high too.
Like somebody needs to give me something for free. My parents, you know, don't have any money, you know, so subsequently, like, I need some free stuff. Right. Or whatever like that I was on.
How we all do.
Yeah, people do. It's like, you know, I didn't believe in myself, you know, which is something that, you know, I've struggled with over the years, even despite all the things I've been able to accomplish. I'm getting better, though, at it. Yeah. But anyway, so I remember I was like 17, 18, sitting on the grass, you know, outside of the football stadium in Camas, Washington, the high school football stadium, and I was getting high. And it was the graduation ceremony, and everybody was walking and getting, you know what I mean, their graduation certificate. And I was sitting with this one other dude, Anthony Martin, who actually just, like, he donated to 4D the other day. I was like, okay, that's cool, man. Some people are making it out. Some people aren't. But anyways, he, you know, me and him were there smoking, and we were just like, look at those, like, losers.
Right.
You know?
But y'all smoking high.
Right.
You got nothing going. Right.
Nothing, you know what I mean? It's like, shit, you know? So that was going on, you know? And so there's some, like, chapters in my life that are really important. I talked about, like, that moment where I was fractured and broken and hurt, trauma, whatever they want to call it. Like, that, like, fractured me. Like, when I was young, I figured out what my family dynamics were. And then, you know, as I got older, one of the things that I wanted desperately, that my ego needed so bad, is that I needed my mother to choose me over my stepfather, you know, and she didn't. She stayed in a relationship with someone who was abusive to me. You know what I mean? And it really pissed me off, and it really made me insecure about who I was.
Validated you, because it's like, you're not good enough.
Right, yeah. And so as I got older, my mom finally left my stepfather, and this is right around I was 18 years old, and I had experimented with all sorts of drugs, but then I was, like, partying, drinking a lot, smoking hella weed, doing a little maybe blow or whatever. I don't know if you've seen, you're not on social media, there's, like, these funny little TikToks. Anyways, this guy's like, I just do a little toot. It's so funny. But so anyways, people were starting to do pills in my town, oxys. And I had kind of messed with them a little bit, but, like, not too much. And then my mom left my stepfather And then she had got prescribed like a ton of OxyContin 80s, like a ton,
Yeah.
like economically changing amounts of oxys, like 1,000 80s. And I could sell them for $45 a pop. And I was like doing like little landscaping side job, like living with some friends or whatever, bouncing around. And then that hit, and that changed my life. One thing that it did is it brought me and my mom, it brought us to have a relationship around drugs. Yep. Mm-hmm. And me and her got really strung out. And I was selling them, making a bunch of money. And I remember, this is a cool piece. So then I remember I had realized that I was physically dependent on these. I had run out, and I was hella sick, and I couldn't get any. And I remember I was like, this is bad.
Right.
I was like, this is not good. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was like, I need to quit. I'm going to detox. I'm going to lay in this bed at this house, and I'm going to detox and get off of these. And then this girl came, and her name's Sophia. And this girl came, and I was like, oh man, I want to show up for this girl. And so then I ended up getting some. But I remember I was like,
that's important.
I was like, well, like I got some pills.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was like I wanted to get with this girl. Mm-hmm. But I got some pills to get well so I could be there at the party and this and that. You know what I mean? And I looked back at that window and I was like, man, I was so close to not becoming a heroin addict.
Right.
You know, and I had enough, you know, I was cognizant enough to realize exactly what I was starting to mess with. Mm-hmm. You know, drugs and alcohol are bad. I think maybe I had some.
That was like your moment of clarity.
Well, like, yeah, this is next level bad.
Right. Okay.
And so, anyway, so I got real deep into it. And then, you know, the pill farm where my mom was getting the pills from shut down. Like, the feds broke it into it. They found out about it or whatever because there was all these, like, places you could go to get all these pills from. Like, these people would prescribe you, right? And they were making bank. And I think they were getting paid by the pharmaceutical companies.
Is this where your mom got her last?
No. So all of a sudden, my mom got her script cut way down, and the whole market of pills dried up. They became super expensive just because economics, right? Supply and demand. And that's when the heroin came in for all the young people.
Right.
And was introduced to us as you could use it in a spray bottle. And so it wasn't like injecting it, you know, it was like you could use it in a spray bottle and it was cheaper. And so we all started using heroin. So that's just how the economics worked and the market worked around it. You know what I mean? And now we see that, you know, pharmaceutical companies are being held accountable for that. But that's, I guarantee that was a microcosm of a lot of different places. And so that changed my life when I started using heroin. And then I was still with this Sophia chick. And then her parents hated me, man. I do not blame them. But anyways, we were like off and on, this and that. And we ended up getting pregnant, and I left to Idaho to try to get, you know, clean later on. And that was like the time where I really started to realize I needed to change my life when I started to have kids. And the reason that was important to me is because I remember being very young and very sad and very indifferent and like laying in my bed and like dreaming of a place and like somewhere else, like a different life, I don't know, maybe I was a different person. I don't know, just not in my circumstances where I was accepted and loved. And I have made a commitment to myself that if I had kids, I would never allow my children to feel the way that I felt. Yeah. You know, and it was like, it was really impactful for me, and I was like really serious about that commitment. So once Sophia got pregnant, I was like, I have to change. But I didn't know what to do, and I didn't realize how hard it was going to be and the lengths that I was going to have to go to change my entire life to successfully overcome addiction.
Right.
You know, and around that same time, my mom died. So she, you know, and it was like looking back, it was like, it sucked that she passed away, but me and her we had a moment where I forgave her for what I went through, and I understood where she came from and how she felt dependent on this man who had like who had everything in his name, had all of the money, and she felt trapped and didn't see a way out. Now, whether or not that was true is another thing, like another argument I can make to somebody, but that's how she felt, and I got to understand that. And then I'd always ask why she chose like him and my sister over me, and and she was like, well, I knew that you were tough enough to do it on your own. That's what she said, and I was like damn. So like she really thought about this, right? Like contemplated it. So she must have been thinking about it enough. So anyways, but when she died, my addiction took another chapter. So my mom
progressed.
Yeah, my mom died, and then I started using intravenously. And then like that, that mixed with like having a kid, like that was just the big struggle for me. And I started bouncing from Portland to Idaho, Utah, Hawaii. I went all over the place trying to figure it out, chasing Sophia somewhat, until I just ended up homeless on Portland streets for like 2 or 3 years, in and out of jail, just homeless, stealing, getting a little money from grandma, getting a little money from Sophia when I could, like, hey, my grandma needs $20 for some food, Western Union it to me, this is before Venmo and shit like that. But, so anyways, that was like the turning point for me was my kids. And I hear people talk about like what is a valid motivation for change. And so I would say any motivation is valid. Like whatever motivation someone has to change is great. Like,
I love that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Nothing
has to be perfect. Just whatever gets you up to do it.
Well, I think people are like, you got to do it for yourself. And that's
not true. People say, yeah, they told me I had to get clean for myself. I did it for my little sister.
Yeah. So like, that's what
I stay now for me. You know what I mean?
It changes and stuff. But
right.
like doing it for my kids is for myself because like it's important to me to be a
Your
parent.
Father.
Yeah. Like that's like one of the most important things for me.
Right.
Is to be a kid or be a father to my children. So
how did you get clean?
Well, combination of in and out of treatment myself and going to jail. And so, I would try it myself sometimes, would fail. And then the last time I went to jail and I got early release to treatment. And I remember they came and told me that I was not going to go to treatment for whatever reason. Because I got in trouble. Because some freaking, two like rival gang members got in a fight when I first got into jail, and I was all disoriented and freaking dope sick, and they were fighting, and they're like everywhere I went there they were fighting, and I was just like, and the cops were like yelling at me to sell in, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and they got me for insubordination. Anyways, so I went to the hole and all this stuff, but like poor me. But anyway, so I remember I had geared up to do another run. And then they were releasing me, and then they told me they were taking me to treatment. I remember I was with this other dude, CJ Appleton, dude. He's doing hella good, too. I'm so proud of him. But we were leaving, and I remember contemplating just running. Because I had, like, a few days left on my sentence, and I was contemplating just running to go get one more. And that's, like, crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I would have gotten a lot of trouble if I did that.
Yeah.
When I only had a few
Definitely
days.
wouldn't be here.
Who knows? But so anyway, so I went to treatment at Volunteers of America. It was a 6-month program. When I got in there, I looked around, and I saw a bunch of people who had were a little bit more healthy than me, eating, working out, and so I decided I'd stay until I got healthy, and that was it. That was it for me. That was like when I got arrested on 7/19, 2012, so a little over 10 years ago, just barely, and when I was in treatment, I began to find hope in the stories of other recovering people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And find inspiration and motivation to change, and I began to experience like the miracles of recovery or a change in perception or whatever it is, creator, God, whatever's out there, I began to believe that there was something more for me in life.
Yeah.
And I began to believe that I could be a father. And so, my kid was 3 at the time, Isabella. And so I began to work towards becoming a father, and I had these people who were in recovery come and pick me up and take me places and stuff. And I thought they were weird, that they would do that, take me to movies, guys take me to movies and stuff. And I was like, this is weird. What are you trying to do?
Right.
Trying to get with me or something? I don't understand.
Right.
Like weird stuff, man.
We got so much to offer. Right.
All right. It's like
Same
trying to exploit me or whatever. And so then I'm trying to see how much time we got. Is that going down? Okay, so I want to get into some of the good stuff. But anyway, so I started to learn that there was a new kind of principled, spiritual way to live my life, and that if I devoted myself to something bigger than me, then I had meaning and purpose. And all of a sudden, all of those things that I thought about who I was in my circumstances didn't matter anymore, because I was able to help others and you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And so I found purpose in that and meaning in my life, where I never had money.
Service, right? It's like that. Like you help others, and you get your mind off of you and what you're going through, and then God meets your needs. And then
that's what it was. And so I was inspired to do stuff. And then I was going to this place called the Miracles Club, and it's like a black recovery club. And I was going there because there was some hitters there, is what we called them. And we were reading recovery literature. I do NA, that's mostly what I do, but I was learning a new way to live, and I was reading books written by people in recovery who had changed their life, and I was talking to people in recovery, and I was doing these things, and life was starting to work, and I got my GED while I was in treatment, and I cried because that's the first thing I'd ever done in my life. And then I got 12 free credits to go to college, and I really wanted to go to college, so I went to college. And when I touched down in college, through those 12 free credits, through the GED program at the jail, they were like, hey, we'll give you another free credit if you go to this recovery group once a week, right? And I was like, cool, that's going to give me another $150 from my financial aid, and I get some shoes, And I was like, cool. And so it was in the Women's Resource Center, and I was in there, and this woman was like, you should start a recovery club and get into student government. And I was like,
because they didn't have that yet.
Well, they had it before or whatever, but they were like, yeah, so start one. So I started a recovery club, and I was like, I'm going to destigmatize addiction, and we're going to throw events and all this stuff.
Wow.
And so I did that, and I got involved in student government. And then I got involved in 4D. Through that, 4D is a recovery organization for young people. I got involved through this big adolescent event. It was really successful through the recovery club at 4D. And then they recruited me to be a part of the business. And then I was just learning that I had these skills.
Right.
I was a good organizer. I was a good communicator. I could envision things and make them happen. And so, I became in student government. I was president of the Honor Society, which would have been the geekiest dude, ever from when I was in high school. I'd have been like, what a loser,
Right.
I bet that dude who was ever that when I was in high school, I bet he's chilling,
yeah,
or her or they. Yeah, who knows, But anyway, so I just started to take the recovery principles that I learned.
Which were?
Give back, be of service, be esteemable, say what you are, you mean, do what you say, just stuff like that, these spiritual principles. And I started to apply them in other places in my life, in business, in student government, in politics, stuff like that. And things just started to unfold, Right. And, and I was president of Portland Community College, which is the biggest school in Oregon. And I had a vision of putting a student on the board of directors. And everybody's you're not gonna be able to do it. And I did it, and then as a team, it was a team effort. And then same thing, I was going to school full time, student body president, and then I was running 4D back when we didn't have any staff, at this little recovery center. And people you ain't gonna be able to do all this stuff.
So at this time, 4D was volunteer.
Yeah.
It's a multi-million-dollar organization now.
Yeah.
Back it was volunteer only. Okay.
Yeah, I volunteered. I was the volunteer director when we hired our first staff, because we didn't have enough money to pay the leadership. So we hired staff to be mentors.
So 4D was just like a mentor club.
It's like a club, like a little club, you know. We
For
had a
young
little
people,
70,
or?
young adults, 18 to 35. Well, back then it was 13 to 35, but we stopped mixing youngins with oldins because just like
Stuff
bad.
gets,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, and anyways, and so like the point I'm trying to make is like I had like these dreams and ambitions I had started to create, and then there were so many people who told me I couldn't do it.
Right.
There was a lot. But then there was also people
who told you could.
Well, or who just mentored me, helped me, told me I could.
You could, right.
You know, and so I started to build, you know, a network of mentors. People that I trusted, that had done stuff in their life.
Right.
And as I would meet these people, I would be like, yo, will you mentor me?
Yeah.
Can you give me insight? You know what I mean?
And that's important. Like, when you meet somebody who is doing what you want, or they have a little bit of what you want, you just go up to them.
Yeah, people who are successful, what did you do? And then, you know, and they tell you what to do and you do it.
Right.
And then, like, shit works out for you, you know? Right, but, like, I have people ask me all the time, like, hey, man, how do I do this? And I lay it out for them and they do something different. And, it, you know, I mean, sometimes it doesn't work. And it's like, well, you know, like, you should have took my advice.
Hey, listen, right, okay.
Right, you know, not because I know everything, just because I have the experience and the knowledge, you know?
Right.
And so, like, I'm building 4D and stuff and just, like, applying spiritual principles to a business. And then I'm doing, like, organizing. Like, I learned a lot about, like, organizing work. I learned a lot about, like, diversity and stuff. And then I also, like, just, like, when I was Portland Community College student body president, I worked with, like, just this hella diverse set of people with different experiences. Like, people who were, like, immigrants.
Student gov,
you know what I mean? It's everything. And so I got to download a lot and learn about, like, I learned how to work with different people towards a common goal.
Right.
Which is really important.
That's like how you make things happen, right? Movements happen like that.
Yeah, and then, you know, anyways, so you know, I've done a lot of stuff, like help start, you know, Oregon's first, or, you know, like major advocacy organization for people in recovery. I'm one of the co-founders of that, and I helped start.
Because that's what you do. Like, I see you, and you work in public policy here locally.
Yeah, a lot.
Destigmatizing addiction and us, the normally hopeless people, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm wondering. How did it get from there? From you're in school and it's just like this volunteer thing, and then all of a sudden you're way up here. You have this multi-million-dollar organization. 4D has 2 locations currently, right?
We have 3. We're working on 3. Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll have 4.
Okay, so they're big centers, and then you have a 4D house.
Yeah, we got a low recovery house, yeah.
Okay, so what was that? Like, how did you go? Was it just a bunch of little steps? Was it one big thing? Okay, so you just set yourself up in the right...
Well, I mean, people want to know, like, my perspective on success. Like, it's grit, you know, and being humble. And it's, you know, if you want to accomplish something like really magnificent, then you have to do all the little things that people don't want to do.
The little things that people don't want to do.
It's the little things, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's the consistency, and it's the day in, day out, and it's, you know, putting the work first before yourself, you know? It's putting
the work before yourself.
Yeah,
okay, so like that selflessness. That's what I hear. A common theme is selflessness and service.
Yeah, selflessness and service, but you also got to be smart, you know, about what you do, and not grow too big and not pretend to be something you're not, and be humble, you know. I was like, you know, I try to stay humble now, you know, and
yeah, you're very humble.
And look at the team effort and help build up other people. And so, like, that's like, I run 4D. We have like 55 staff right now, and then we you know, we incubate other orgs, right? So we go out and help other organizations like ours that are like specific to various communities and stuff. We help them get grants and teach them how to run a business and stuff. So we have 2 of those right now that we help and we partner with. That's Jared, if you have him on here. And then we're about to help, start another one called True Colors, and it'll be like a LGBTQ recovery org, right? And so people will think that, okay, if I'm going to run a business, I need to be centric around my own business, right? I need to be about me and my business and stuff. But what I found, Well, what I found is that you can help others, and then you will get success off of that.
And I was gonna say, I remember Oprah saying something like that. Like, she just wanted to serve. She wanted to help people.
That's what I
and in return, she became like one,
like I was doing all this free training and consulting work for people and teaching people how to build businesses and helping, like institutions be better with recovery and stuff. I was doing it for years for free. Like, I just had people come to the center when I was volunteering. I'd be breaking stuff down for them. And now, besides 4D, now I have a training and consulting company where people will pay me good money to help them because there's money available, and so I'll take money, to help people. And then, and then some people I won't. If it's like somebody doesn't have that, I'll help them on GP, but then I also get paid. So, but I didn't start out like, I want to be a consultant, I want to do all these trainings and stuff. I just started off like, I need to do this to make things better. And then the money came later. And the more I help people, just the more I get, and that's something that my grandma always said, it's better to give than receive, and the more I took, the less I had, for a long time. And so now I just try to give, and there's different leadership styles and stuff, and I have my own, and if you want to like look up how I try to be a leader, it's called servant leadership. But I also went through like a leadership development program at Portland Community College where we would research a topic and then like a social issue, and then the school would pay us to go to like New Orleans and help with Katrina, and then fly to DC and contact our legislators and learn how to lobby. Like they taught us how to go to a banquet and start with your silverware from the outside in, and what
and
fork
etiquette.
you use,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
with
little
knife and
things.
Where do you put your napkin? Mm-hmm.
And so I just I've learned a lot, but I think being genuine is an important part of how I do things and how I persuade people to do things now, because I go out and I persuade people to do stuff like policymakers and legislators and stuff.
Right, and you are, because I'm a lobbyist. I do policy work, so I see your name, and these people are not a lot like us. You know what I mean? How do you go into situations where you want to partner with someone, or you want to make your brand bigger, or just serve more? That's what you do. How do you connect with these people? Like, what mindset do you go in there with?
I just try to be kind to people. For the most part, there's some people that you gotta like hit with the hammer, but I just try to be kind, respectful, honor people's time, and be genuine about what I'm trying to accomplish.
Be genuine. Be kind. You're real simple. It's real simple stuff.
It is, but it's like it's like by keeping my word and doing what I'm going to say I'm going to do, and by being more than just someone who talks about stuff, I've earned credibility in the community over a long time. And so I can go to places and say things that other people can't and won't be taken seriously, whether that's like a white dude and I go into different spaces and talk to stuff like in different communities and stuff. It's because like for the most part I've earned that.
Right.
And even if people don't know me the way that I carry myself, because I've been in those situations, and I know that spiritually I'm right and I'm centered, and what I'm doing is ethical and moral, and it's I'm leading with like my heart and my spirit and what's right, you know what I mean, and I'm coming in a good way.
You're gonna make me cry.
Then I'm not tripping about what people are gonna think for the most part. Like I'm not being, I'm trying not to be arrogant when I go in, but I'm confident. And that confidence has been earned over time. And, I'm also confident in the fact that I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail every day.
But you're okay with it because you've done that and you've gotten back up.
Well, because, success is paved with failure. That's how you get success, is that you fail over and over and over again. And every time you fail, you get a little bit better. You fail again, you get a little bit better. You evolve, you get a little bit better. And you just get accustomed to failing and not being, and knowing you're not there yet. You're never there.
Right, continuing on.
Yeah, you're never there. It's every day. You're going to get better. You're going to sharpen up. You're going to learn a new tool, or skill. You're going to get a new tool in your bag to accomplish what you want. And that's just like just a part of the process. Right. If you stop when you fail,
never get nowhere.
Then you're not going to get nowhere.
Stop at that failure. Yeah.
Right.
I know you like Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah, yeah.
You've quoted him.
Yeah.
What is your favorite, what's your favorite lyric from Nipsey Hussle?
Well, I wouldn't say that. You know, I have a favorite lyric, but what I'll say is that, like, I study people, right? And the thing, like, Nipsey Hussle's music's cool. Like, you know, like, my favorite artist is J. Cole, but it's just more his style. But, like, the thing I like about Nipsey Hussle that I, like, try to incorporate in my own life is, like, it seems, like, I don't know him personally, but it seems like he was about building other people up. You know, and and it's, you know, I never want to get to a place again where it's like crabs in a bucket. I don't know if you know what that means, but
I know exactly what that means.
Yeah, where everybody's just dragging each other down. I see a lot of that. And so I try to live my life in building other people up around me. Like, you know, I've like been able to buy homes and do stuff that has unlocked my future, my economic future.
Right.
And so I try to get people money.
Right.
And teach them how to use money and create wealth and stuff, you know, or develop businesses or whatever. But the point is that when I look around at my community and my team, I'm thinking, like, what ways can I make my team better?
Right. Yeah, building them up.
Right.
Like legacy, right. Like, because they say that leaders make leaders.
Yeah.
Or create leaders. If you had, and I want to get this, because for people watching out there, and then myself, if you had any advice for people in the process of recovery or not knowing if they want to stay or if this is right for them or if it's paying off, you know, what advice would you give them?
You know, like, you don't know, like, the miracles that are, like, on the other side of tomorrow. You know, like, you just don't.
Only 5 minutes before the miracle.
Don't know. And life is great because it's really, really good. And it really, really sucks, right? And it flows like that, you know. So it flows up and down. So right. You get to experience the highs and the lows, and that's part of it. And so acknowledge your lows because you're going to have the highs. So don't give up today, you know, on the low because the high's coming sometime, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I appreciate you. Well, where can people find you?
Yeah, people can find me on Facebook, you know. Tony Vezina on Facebook. People can always look up 4D Recovery. You know, then, you know, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can call me, you know, 503-734-0474. You can call. That's my number.
Okay.
You know, don't, like, call me with no crazy stuff. But if you need help, you can reach out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, find me there. Find me out here in Portland somewhere doing something.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank
you're
you
welcome.
for coming and telling your story. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
All right, bye.
Thanks for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and visit our website at mercedessecondchance.com.